What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon for me. Good morning for y'all. I generally try to post in the mornings. Welcome to the channel. 323 fabrication. So there will be some fabrication done in probably not this video, but one coming up. If you're a regular subscriber for us, you know that we mostly do hot rod stuff, but I bought a gray Volkswagen to daily drive, and this is not that car. I actually bought two more. One's a parts car, one is this car. This car has a title. Parts car is lost title, but the car looks like, I don't know, anyway, it looks terrible. I'll show you the parts car in a second. But this is an 03, where mine that I currently drive is an 05. This one's also a 5-speed, where mine's an automatic. And this car has 130,000 more miles on it than mine, but it was a one owner prior to the guy I acquired it from, and he acquired it because it needed a motor, and I'm not 100% convinced it needs a motor yet. I did drive it on the trailer. It does smoke. It's got a lot of blow-by, but I'm going to try to maybe service I'm going to delete the EGR and service the PVC system, and then if it cleans up and runs good and doesn't burn a bunch of oil, then I'll just service everything else and start driving this. Give my wife the automatic to daily. Oh, no way. So the car's got 254,000 miles on it, and it had a timing belt 02 of 2023 with 253,000 miles on it, which is, woohoo, that's fantastic. I got a whole folder full of paperwork I was digging through. I'll show you, and I was actually looking for something about a timing belt, but evidently I don't have the paperwork for when it was done, but there is a sticker here where it was changed with a Continental belt. So let me show you the car. Alright, so if you've been with the channel for a while, you know the last probably 6 months the channel's really changed. We've been focusing on saving money and trying to get into rental houses, and so far we have one, and it's been fairly successful. The good Lord's really blessed us there, and we're thankful for that. Look at that timing belt, look at it. I'm so excited. But I'm going to delete the EGR garbage, so I'm going to start taking that apart. But this is an ALH. See, it's got an external pump on it, whereas a BEW, the injectors are driven by the camshaft. It's got a little rust on it. The car spent some time up north in Delaware, and you know, front fenders are aftermarket, I'm assuming, because they were probably rotten. It's got a decent hood on it though, but I think I'm going to hood stack this one and then save this hood and put the hood off the parts car on it, which is blue. But I am going to put my roof rack on this car, switch a few things over, give me some more stickers. But I mean, it's a one owner, you know, a little wear on the driver's seat, but to be expected. Probably needs like a big old tall shifter up here, you know, because it's basically a tractor. It does have a crack in the windshield, which I hadn't noticed before. Obviously, headliner's a little goobered. It's got a set of rubber floor mats, and it came with a whole nother set, which I am putting in my other TDI Jetta. But pretty sweet car. Let me go grab the keys. I'll pop the trunk, show y'all what it came with. Don't have a key fob for it. I just have the single key, which is fine. That's the key for the other one that's gray. But a whole book full of paperwork. The way it was explained to me, a gentleman bought it new and then gave it to his son as his son's first car, and his son drove it for a lot of years. And here we go. Let's see. I know this opens it. Oh, I bet I opened it with the... bet I opened it when it had a battery in it the other day. Oh well, there's a milk crate in there full of oil filters and oil and all kinds of cool jazz that I now need to get to. But I guess this key doesn't open the trunk. So let's go look at a parts car instead. All right, here's our parts car. This is a fine machine here. It's blue faded to purple, missing some clear coat. Kind of dig it. It is a tan interior ALH automatic car. Came with all kinds of stuff like some tools and a bunch of garbage. Quite a bit of tools, actually. It's definitely a parts car. Does have a Bible back there, but it is an ALH automatic, and it's partially tore apart. But I'm gonna try if we know the other car doesn't need a motor, I'm going to try to get this one to run before I start parting it out. I am going to take this blue hood and cut a hole in it and hood stack the other car, because the other hood is really good and this one's not. And I'll save the good hood for when I get tired of the hood stack. But you can put a little tractor flapper on there, ting, 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 ting. Probably save this whole motor, turbo included. Got a buddy that needs an automatic for an ALH bug. Hopefully the trans is the same. If this trans is good, I'll sell him the trans. Probably keep the wheels and tires, because this other 5-speed car, ooh, mud flaps, we'll take those, has got steelies on it, which isn't like the coolest thing ever, but it's a clean little car. Like I said, basically a one owner. But we're gonna get started on it. I'm gonna start tearing this EGR stuff off and delete it. Parts haven't come in yet, but I ordered them. It was like 40 bucks for the block off plates and everything else. So we'll go ahead and start on that. All right, y'all. Been at it, I don't know, about 20 minutes maybe. Pulled the intake tube off. It is full of oil. Could be a turbo, I don't know. This was a 7, it's just a clamp on this PVC system. Unplugged that, obviously all the pinch clamps on the hoses, intake hose over there. Popped this off with a screwdriver, which wasn't necessary because it came off as one piece, but these are 5 millimeters. You do have to take this first EGR connector pipe off to get to this one. These are all 6 millimeter Allen, and then this one 6 millimeter on this end. These are 13 on these nuts. Popped a couple vacuum lines off, all that jazz. Intake's pretty crusty, so I will probably go ahead and pull the intake off. I'll go ahead and pull this whole cooler off, and connect the hoses once the kit shows up, but it's full of coolant currently. Say that, let's check. Yeah, it's still got coolant in it. It's nasty, but it's coolant. So anyway, here's to hoping that we don't have to put a motor in this car. But the EGR kit I ordered was like 40 bucks off of, I think, Total Velocity or something like that. So not too bad. Obviously, like always, diesels are dirty. But that's where we're at. So we'll wait on the kit to show up and I can finish tearing it apart. And I'm gonna wait on the lift to have access to get down here to this baby turbo. See the exhaust there. It's had a connector pipe replaced. Little bitty turbo. Probably pull it all off and clean it while we're in here. But till my kit shows up, I don't want to take that apart just because we'll lose the coolant. But I will go ahead and pull the manifold once this is off. But I might be able to pull this log and just let it hang. I'm going to try to do that without pulling the coolant lines. Alright, there's the intake off. These are all 6 millimeter Allen head. They're kind of tight. You want to make sure you're lined up good or they'll try and strip. I pulled the little heat shield off. That was a 12 millimeter stud. Came out of the manifold right there. The exhaust manifold. And there you go. I'll get an intake gasket to replace that one. I'll clean that intake while it's off. Once our kit shows up, we'll get rid of this. And then this gives me enough room to build my hood stack. And yeah, fun stuff. All right, we got our new 5-speed ALH 03 Jetta in the shop. Pulled the little plastic skid pan off the bottom. We got it up in the air. We can check it out. The car is from Delaware, but honestly, like, not bad. It's got a little in this rocker over here. I'm sure the fenders have been replaced because they had rust. This rocker's starting, just a hair bubbling and stuff. But like, the biggest thing for me with a northern car, if it's a beater, you know what I mean? Like, my other car's got a little rust on it too, that 05 BEW, is I don't want the suspension super rusty. Like, I don't want to have to fight with stuff to work on it. And so far, I mean, this car is really not bad. It's got red calipers, which means it's fast. I got these two exhaust hangers took loose. I'm gonna cut this right here. And then I'm gonna, this is all still fairly intact, little rust here, but I'm gonna cut it here at the cat because I'm gonna, you know, this is obviously an off-road vehicle, so I'm gonna delete this. But I want to do a hood exit, so I'm gonna try to take it apart where if I get tired of the hood exit, I can reuse most of this because it really doesn't matter. But that's where we're gonna start. I am gonna check the turbo out, any leaks we got, anything else. Obviously it's got an oil leak, but that's okay as long as it's got oil in it. That's where we're gonna start. We're gonna get the exhaust off this dude, get the cat off of it. And then when I get that one in here and get the cat off of it, there is a guy in our group that purchases those through a company. So I'll get both of those going, recoup a little money. This, by the way, this car does have good cold air conditioning. So we'll get started here. All right, here's what we got. This is our pipe off the turbo where it angles down and back under the car. I'm really thinking about cutting it and rotating it because that'll make life so much easier for building it. This is the flex pipe I cut off of it, save my hangers and all that stuff. And then I'm gonna save some of this, probably just cut this piece off here and save this over axle piece because it's still pretty solid. Throw all this in the scrap bin. That's what we had to get off. It's 3 nuts. Switch hands here. I used a 1/2 inch socket, but I couldn't find a metric one that fit as good as a 1/2 inch did. I thought a 13 was the right size, but there you go. So there it is. That's where it points out at. You can see it there. So I'm gonna build a piece off of it and come over. I'm probably gonna have to order some stuff. I've got some 2-inch straight stainless, but I don't have any 2-inch anything else other than straight. So I don't really want to pie cut all this. I think this is stainless, to be honest with you. I guess I could stick a magnet to it and find out. It might not be. It's really thick though, which is nice. Yep, so it is stainless. So I probably had to order some. And then we'll build a stainless hood stack for this MK4 Jetta. Should be pretty sweet. Sorry, my finger's been in the corner of the picture the whole time. So, doity. Race car. All right, took a pause on the exhaust for the hood stack because I need the intake installed so that I can see where to route my exhaust, and I need my race pipe. So that's gonna hold us up on that. So this is soaking, got gasoline in it. I've been cleaning it, scrubbing it. And then I'll actually clean it with aluminum brightener, make it kind of, or a degreaser, and then aluminum brightener, make it kind of shiny looking. So it looks kind of fresh when we get done. I think I'm gonna go ahead and paint the valve cover as well. I've got it off right here. It's got a gasket, and then somebody RTV'd the stew out of it because it was leaking instead of replacing the gasket. So I'm gonna order a gasket for that. But the motor's pretty clean inside for 250,000 miles, but you can see where it was leaking. The gasket was leaking. So I'm just gonna clean this up, and then I'll cover it up for now. But I mean, there's literally like RTV all over the place. But just, I want to get the leak fixed because it's kind of oily underneath, and my car was the same way. It needed a valve cover gasket, and that really, it barely leaks now. It's got a little drip. So that's probably most of the leak we have. So I'll get a valve cover gasket ordered for that. Try and figure out what else I need before I order stuff. But it's hard to know because the car didn't really run. I've only run it a few minutes, and then I tore it apart without thinking about the fact that once I tore it apart, we'd have to push it. So to get it in here, we pushed it in, and then I put it on rollers and rolled it over here. And then we put it on the lift. So anyway, just kind of piddling. See, once this is out of the way, it'll be easier to put the intake manifold back on. And then I can figure out how I'm gonna route my exhaust. I'm pretty sure it's gonna come up somewhere in this area. It is only 2-inch. And I'll pull this hood and put the other hood on it. Figure out what that does there. Probably windshield sprayers would be my guess, to figure out how that comes apart. And we'll put the blue hood on this car, clean this hood up, and put this on the BEW that is the same color, because this hood is in better shape. The hood on the BEW is in good shape, but it doesn't have hardly any gloss left on the paint, so I figured give this one to the other car, and then I'll just store the one off the other car in case I get tired of the hood stack. All right, y'all, as always, we could not just put it back together, so all you're really going to see on the intake is this upper portion here, but that's why the bottom's not really painted. We sprayed it with this paint here, and then had a little help, and of course painted the valve cover the same color. Should add a little bit of horsepower. And next, the plan is we're going to get a 3/4 race cam and change the camshaft. Not really, but it would be cool if it had a little cam in it, wouldn't it? Now we're just waiting on parts. Hi, Miss Goober. Can you sit? Can you see it? Just too excited? Is that just too excited? Just too excited? Alright. Working on the tractor right now. Finna change the fuel filters, change the oil yesterday. And then gotta change the hydraulic filters and fluid and all that jazz. But got some parts in for the Volkswagen. So, guys, y'all know I like Stainless Brothers, Tycon. They actually do aluminum now. I haven't ordered any of that yet. This is how it shows up. All I've done is cut the tape. Packaged pretty well. But this is why I like their stuff. It's quality. Shows up labeled, bubble wrapped. You literally can take this out of the bag if you don't need to trim it or anything, and wipe it down with acetone, and you have a product to use. I got 2 45s and a 90. I needed that. I already had some 2-inch stainless, and we're going to build a hood stack for the Volkswagen. We got oil filter, change the oil, fuel filter, change the fuel filter, intake gasket because we pulled the intake off of it to clean it. And then I've also got a valve cover gasket, but it's laying on the valve cover to stretch out because it was wadded up in a box. Still waiting on the EGR delete to come in, but we got our stainless tractor flapper from Center Tractor Parts. Came in. They had 2 sizes. They had one that was 1.5 to 1.8 inches for the OD of the pipe. And then they had one that went from 2.2 inches to 2.5 for the OD. Well, I went with the bigger one, and it's too big. I can tighten it up till it basically touches on each side, but it puts the flapper in a bind, and it won't look real good. So what I'm gonna do is cut a 1/2 inch out of it, put it back together and tack it, and then come test fit it some more, and I'll massage it and make it work. That's gonna be our flapper for our exhaust. And then I've got the pipe built. The intake is installed with 2 bolts just to keep it in place, so I was able to eyeball what we were building. But this is our stainless hood stock. Turned out pretty good. Just got to get it all welded up. We'll get it done today. Get it installed. All right, y'all, I cut a 1/2 inch originally and then probably another 1/4 inch out of it, which was almost too much. But I just spread this back apart like it's supposed to be. Put some clamps on there. Welded it back up. But I want to have it removable just in case. I'm not sure how I'm going to cut the hood yet, if I'm going to cut it to clear around this or what. So the plan is to get this welded up now, and then we'll get the hood on it and get it cut and go from there. There it is, all welded out. This just slipped on, but had a few welds. That'll work. All right. This is how it's gonna fit down in there. And now this isn't touching. This is actually gonna pull up, so it's gonna have more clearance there. We're waiting on a race pipe. I can go ahead and reinstall the manifold, but I don't think I'm gonna permanently install the hood stack till I get the hood cut. That way I know how I'm gonna do it, but fits in there, clearance all the way around it. That's the height it's currently at, which might be where it stays. I'm just trying to decide if I'm gonna cut a small hole and then just keep a wrench with me to take this off if I need to open the hood for anything, which is kind of inconvenient, or if I'll cut the hole to clear the whole thing, which is probably what's gonna happen. But it just depends. When you get to pivoting things for clearance, you have to make holes way bigger than they need to be. So we'll see. But there it is. It's just sitting in there. But it looks good. All right, I goobered up my hood stack, so I forgot about this charge pipe, the way it ran. I'm gonna modify this charge pipe instead of cutting this apart. And then if somebody, like from a Facebook group, wanted one of these built, I'll build it based off the other car that's out there, and I'll remember to install this charge pipe while I build it. But I'm just gonna modify the charge pipe with this radiator hose right here. I'm gonna cut this, use this as a coupling, and then cut the hard plastic hose, and we should be good to go. So what I done, I took the clamp off that. It's not really a charge pipe, it's the feed pipe from the intake. I cut that much off of it, right, at 90. Cut up a radiator hose I had laying around, and it's down there. Kind of hard to tell, but it'll raise this up. What I'm gonna do now is get the valve cover on. I'm not worried about that flex pipe, that'll be all right. And then I'll get the clamps on. This has got 2 nuts on it. I got to raise the cart to put the third, but I'm gonna get the valve cover on to make sure that's gonna be happy for that PVC port, which I might end up just dumping the atmosphere anyway and just plugging this off, but I'm not 100% yet, so we'll see. Okay, that's what I got so far. I plugged this hole. I'm not gonna reroute the PVC system from the valve cover into the intake, because that's why it gets so oily. A lot of people run a catch can. I don't care, I'm just gonna dump mine to atmosphere. This little mount is off of this. It goes around here, just flat screwdriver, pop that off. That's where we cut it, added that. It all seems like it's gonna work good. I will have to zip tie this to mount it, because I'm not gonna be able to put a bolt in that. But still waiting on my EGR delete before I finish install this intake pipe. This pipe two's in the way. I got to reroute vacuum stuff, hook up my heater hoses. So I'm waiting on the EGR delete kit. Valve cover's installed with a new gasket, looks really good. Like I said, I'm dumping this to atmosphere. This is just a piece of, I think, heater hose that I had in my box of I don't throw anything away. And so it's just dumped there, it'll drip under the motor. That's it, we're just kind of waiting on parts now to be able to finish it up. I'm gonna go ahead and pick it up, change the oil. I don't know when it's been changed. It's only got 1,000 miles since it had a timing belt, but that doesn't mean they changed the oil at the same time. So oil is dirty, which is to be expected with a diesel. But just because the car came with a Fram filter and this European oil, which is not what I would run in it, but because it came with this, I'm gonna go ahead and change it since it didn't cost anything. Well, I mean, it cost what the car cost. But because I got it, I'm gonna go ahead and change it, and then I am going to wait on parts, I guess. That's kind of where we're at. I'll get the other nut on the hood stack. When Dad gets back, he ran to the John Deere dealer in Sampson to get some Hydro Guard so we can change the hydraulic oil and filters on the, that's got a hydrostatic transmission. It runs the hydraulics and the transmission, so we'll get to change that. And that'll be done, and some gear oil to change the gearbox oil on the bush hog. I'm gonna go ahead and change the oil in this while I'm waiting. That way that's done. And other than that, I think we're just gonna be waiting on parts. My shifter's not gonna be here till next week, so I'll put the factory knob back on or whatever, which takes 2 seconds, so no big deal there. And then I guess once our other parts show up, we get the hood if he's back before our parts show up, I'll go ahead and get the hood on it and get a hole cut. And I think I'm just gonna cut a hole small enough for the stack itself, and then I'll just take this on and off when I want to take the hood off. No big deal. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut the gray hood. We put the good hood on the other car because it has more clear coat left on it. And it turns out my buddy Chris I bought these cars from called me, and he's got a title for the blue car, so just leave the hood on that for now. You know, if I can make it run and drive, it's worth a little more than it is parting it out, even though the inside's trash. But if you could daily drive it to work, then that would be another car. I could sell it, so we'll see. But that's where we're at. A little more progress on TDI number 2. All right, we've been waiting. It's a day late, but mail came early. So we're back to working on the Volkswagen. These are the nuts that came with this EGR delete kit with this little race pipe. Nothing to it. Fairly simple. 2 coolant line fittings. And then I reused the factory nuts because these are about half as thick. You can see down there, that's the block off plate. And I also reused the gasket that came off of that because it seemed like a good idea. There was no gasket that came with the kit, but there is a gasket for the race pipe. So now we'll get these bungs in and then the race pipe on, and we'll put the car back together. Let's fire it up. Here's where we are. Got a race pipe in. I went ahead and wrapped that intake tube because it's kind of touching. But I can kind of put a zip tie on it and put some pressure on this and it won't be touching. I did put the heat shield back on the exhaust manifold. I got our intake tube installed. Everything hooks up. Coolant lines hooked up, vacuum lines taken care of, I do believe. I'm gonna pour some coolant in it. I do need to pick it up. I gotta get that lower clamp on that intake tube where it hooks to the turbo. Okay, everything's installed now. I changed the factory clamp at the bottom for a screw style. Put coolant in it. We'll have to, piece of grass. I'll have to watch that. I got the car all the way on the ground. I'm gonna pull the handbrake up, and that way I can put it in 5th and kill it if it decides to run away. Because I really, you know, it shouldn't, but just in case. We did add some hot shots to the tank, and then poured 3 or 4 more gallons of diesel in it. That way it's got a little bit fresher diesel in it, and it's the gas gauge does work. It went up about a 1/4 tank. So that's good. It's got a silver mirror on this side, I just noticed. Gray on that side. But we'll fire it up, see what it does. Should be interesting. All right, moment of truth. smoky. All right, let me write my mileage down. Got to check engine light now. Probably EGR. This is great. I love this thing. Whoops. I know this is absolutely ridiculous, but I love it. Man, what you think? I like it a lot when it loads up like low RPM.
Yeah.
Smokes a little bit.
You got a brake light out on the passenger side.
Oh, okay. Well, it came with some bulbs, so. Nice and rattly. It's gonna be a little louder than the other one, ain't it?
A little bit.
Alright, I got the hood towed back on it, pulled the flapper off, took a measurement from the back of the hood and from the side of the hood. Gives me my general area, and as you close the hood's gonna kind of move forward. It's pretty low, so it won't move a whole bunch more. But if I center here, you know, it's actually gonna be offset a little bit. So I'm gonna come back about a 1/4 inch to mark it and then cut my hole. Being that it's a 2-inch hole, probably use like a 3-inch hole saw to make sure we clear it. But that's kind of the way I know how to do it, and I lay out with 2 layers of tape, and hopefully it doesn't goober up the car too bad. Not that it really matters. And I dumped the PVC off the valve cover to atmosphere, and it's definitely pushing oil out of it. I'll probably order a catch can to put on it and reroute it back to the intake. But I run it like this for now, just to keep oil out of the charge pipes. Seems to run really pretty good, but do have a cracked windshield. We noticed that. And it needs a bath, but let's get a hole cut. I got a hole cut in it. I backed it up a 1/4 inch from where I had it centered. I should have backed it up a 1/2 inch because I got to cut this much more just so it clears. Well, it actually probably wouldn't take but an 1/8 inch, but I wanted it to look fairly uniform. And then this side, you know, if we do leave the flapper on it permanently, I might just carry a wrench with me to start with. But if we leave a flapper on it permanently, then I'll cut the rest of the way. I might even build a little cover plate out of aluminum or stainless. Let me pull this board out and I'll show you where it's at. So see, that's where it's at right now. But I'm gonna back it up a little bit, and we'll be done. Clean it up. All right, took a lot more cutting, but there's the final result. I think it looks good. Open the hood. No touching. It's a little butchered on the inside, but it'll work. Looks good. I like it. I got changed the hood shock, thinking the one on the parts car was good, but I'm guessing this felt that's still on this hood that's not on the others is the reason, because none of them stay up. But it's all good. Get another one. I like it. That's gonna do it for our second TDI. We do have another one, and since it's got a title, I'm gonna try to get it running, but probably just gonna part it out anyway, because I want to keep the motor, the injection pump, and the turbo as a backup for this car, just in case. But other than that, it's fantastic. I like this a lot. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. God bless you.